Okay, so it seems like recently there's been a little bit of an update to the whole Mythic Talent stuff, with a ton of people actually speaking about a lot of the allegations that Grimmi has brought forward towards Mythic Talent. Now, if you don't know, we've covered a lot of videos on this, essentially talking about what has been alleged and what has gone on with one of the big ones, obviously Grimmi saying that Mythic Talent have been skimming her money from sponsorships, which obviously is not good and is one of the big no-nos if you are running a talent agency company, because of course, yeah, you're taking money without them knowing. Now, of course, this was all allegations, and it seems that Mythic Talent did come out and respond to this in a big statement, right? But now it seems like as well, someone who was a part of Mythic Talent and also got kicked out at the time has been speaking about it with Asmongold. He talks about parting ways with Mythic. But then he also talks about the Grimmi situation a little bit right at the very end, which I thought would be pretty interesting to just kind of look at and talk about, because again, I don't really know about this one. So let's just play it and then yeah, we'll talk about it.
I love working with them. I think they're great people. I have zero animosity, and I think that these lies that are being spread about them, that they weren't making payments, they were like fucking skimming funds, are total fucking bullshit. And I don't know why you would say that without being absolutely fucking certain. So it's insane that you would even say this. But anyway, and I mean, to say this about a talent company like this is like one of the worst things you can say about a place like this. And it's like spreading that lie is ridiculous.
So yeah, obviously in this clip, he claims that it is a lie. He straight up says it's a lie. He doesn't say, oh, well, it could be true, it might not be true. He says like straight up, it's a lie. There's nothing right about this. Which, again, I do find a little bit interesting, because I think that I don't know how much research Asmongold has done into this situation and how much he's actually looked at the kind of evidence that Grimmi has put out, including the screenshots of the transactions. I don't know. I don't know if I can really agree with him on this one, because I do agree with him on, you know, some stuff, right? And you guys know that he's been pretty decent in terms of especially VTubing kind of stuff. He's been pretty fair sometimes. But again, I think this time, I think this is a little bit of a miss, because he straight up goes to call it a lie without really going into exactly the details of what Grimmi is actually claiming, and makes it kind of seem like she is someone that is just trying to, you know, making a tweet saying like, oh, Mythic Talent stole money from me. That's it. No proof. Like that's essentially what it sounds like from the way that he's explaining it. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. Obviously, she has evidence. She even has even more evidence that she hasn't shown to us, that she plans potentially on keeping in case of any kind of court stuff, which means that she does have a, you know, at least she feels like she has a legitimate case, right? She feels like she's legitimately been wronged. And of course, I think that's enough to at least kind of give her, not the benefit of the doubt, but at least give her a kind of, you know, at least hear her out, right? Because that's what I've been like throughout this entire situation. I don't think Mythic Talent necessarily will be the worst talent company on planet Earth, and that I think they're awful, right? Again, I don't know, because of course, you know, we've only seen what we've seen. We've seen the statements that they've put out, and of course, I would like to think that a lot of the stuff that has gone on with Grimmi has just been a miscommunication and a mistake, right? And of course, that can happen. And I think that, you know, the likelihood of that happening is probably pretty high as well. But also, I don't want to completely disregard what Grimmi is saying and what she's bringing out, because there are some pretty serious allegations, right? And she does have these screenshots to back them up. Whereas Mythic Talent, I'm not seeing many screenshots. And of course, Grimmi did make a post in response to Mythic Talent, and she says that, you know, she's been getting even more explanations and different explanations as to why this is going on. So it's currently a huge mess in regards to, you know, what they're kind of claiming has happened, why the money has been so shifted around. And yeah, obviously a lot of people are very interested in that. And I think that to kind of claim that it is straight up a lie, to kind of disregard it completely, saying it's total BS, all of that kind of stuff, I don't know. I feel like I would be a little bit more sympathetic to kind of, you know, waiting until, you know, all of this stuff does come out, and whether there is some kind of, you know, legal thing. Because I'm going to be real, if this does end up going to a legal kind of situation and Grimmi ends up winning, well, Asmon's going to look pretty stupid, isn't he? Because he's going to go, oh, well, this is a complete lie, right? Well, in actual fact, he doesn't know that it's a complete lie. He doesn't know that it's a, you know, someone that is kind of, you know, completely making this up. Because you know, it doesn't have the kind of proof behind that. And I think that, you know, Grimmi does have the proof that, you know, she is, well, he's trying to claim that she's telling the truth. Now, of course, you know, do we know that? No, of course not. But I don't think it's also safe to say that she is also telling a lie either. I think it is more so in the middle and just kind of waiting to see on more information and waiting to see if, you know, a court or kind of legal thing does come around, right? And obviously, during a lot of this kind of stuff as well, I kind of wanted to talk about with the Mythic Talent statement, Grimmi responded to it and all that kind of stuff. There's also been people as well that have been discussing Mythic Talent and their opportunities and, you know, them working with it. Now, it seems that the majority of people that have worked with Mythic Talent have actually had a good time with them, like no problems at all, right? And we've got Ten here, who obviously is in the, or used to be in the gacha space. I don't know what he does now, but again, I remember him from the gacha space, saying, I've worked with Mythic Talent on many sponsorship deals over the years, totaling well over 200,000 in opportunities. In all that time, I've never been once paid less than what was agreed upon. The payment structure was always clearly communicated, and every payout matched the terms of the deal, even for non-paid collaborations like product reviews opportunities, and they even made sure that the products were properly delivered and handled everything without asking for an extra charge. Personally, I find it hard to believe that a company would risk its reputation and long-term relationships over a few $100s, just sharing my experience with working with them. And yeah, I do think that is a fair enough point to bring up as well. I think that obviously the small amount of money that she claims that they were taking, it does seem like a pretty stupid thing for them to like lose their entire reputation over, because again, they have built up a very popular reputation among big streamers on the platform, and especially VTubers on the platform as well. So again, it does seem a little bit odd as to why they would do this, and also do it so easily, like do it so, I guess, out in the open, right? It was pretty easy for Grimmi to find out and, you know that this was going on. So again, it doesn't really make sense that they would do this so out in the open when, you know, it could have some pretty big ramifications for the company, right? Which I guess is also something that people have been discussing too. Now, of course, just because someone else has worked well with Mythic Talent doesn't necessarily mean that other people can't be treated poorly. And obviously, they're saying that they've never had any kind of, you know, changes to money or whatever, and everything has been fine. There's been no kind of issues with that. But the thing is, Grimmi says that it has happened and has provided proof of it happening, right? And I think that, you know, obviously maybe this could point more evidence at it being a mistake or it being a mess up, right? And obviously just a coincidence that this happened, you know, multiple times. I don't know. But again, you know, a lot of people have been like saying, you know, oh, I've never had an issue with it. But again, I don't think it means that Grimmi shouldn't have an issue with it, right? Or Grimmi shouldn't have a problem. Because again, you know, I don't know what these kind of responses are in terms of like, oh, you know, I've always been paid on time and in the correct amount and everything. It's like, oh, okay, so because you've been paid on time and correctly, Grimmi should just forget about it because, you know, she doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that she hasn't been paid about it. As long as you get paid normally and everything is all fine for you, then that's totally okay. You get what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, Grimmi should still definitely be calling it out if it's happening to her, regardless of how many people out there are getting paid correctly by Mythic. Now, it does obviously add a lending hand to Mythic in terms of their credibility and how much they have been supporting their talents, right? But I do think, of course, you know, I don't think it should necessarily dismiss any of Grimmi's statements at all and try to make her out to be this kind of person who's like lying and whatever, because I don't think that's the case. I don't think she's lying. I ever think this is genuinely a mistake and a misunderstanding between the two of them, on both sides, by the way, including Mythic Talent as well, or it is a genuine, you know, issue. And again, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to turn out to be. And I don't know if Grimmi is planning on taking it further, because of course she did say that, you know, she was thinking about like legal action and whatever, but also she did say as well that she's going on break and waiting for it to all blow over. So again, I don't know if maybe she's going to, you know, take legal action, because obviously that will then escalate it further, and it won't blow over if you do take legal action, right? So again, we'll have to see. But obviously something like that would kind of help out, I guess, in terms of proving who's right and who's wrong in terms of the situation. But it is something to, you know, kind of, I guess, talk about, right? And I do think, as I said, the Asmongold kind of response was a little bit weird, and I know he can, you know, sometimes be a little bit absolute with his kind of, you know, statements and things, saying like, oh, you know, this person's definitely lying when maybe there is a chance that they're not, and stuff like that. And of course, you know, that happens quite a lot on his channel. But I do think, yeah, just saying that she's a liar and saying that it's total BS, I don't think that's fully the case, right? I think that, of course, maybe he could be a little bit more understanding of the situation because, you know, I know that he doesn't care about money too much, but a lot of people do care about money in terms of, you know, being shorted £100 or $100. Sorry, £100 a lot of my British there. You know, being shorted $100 or whatever. You know, sometimes that's a lot of money for someone that, you know, wants to, you know, make a career out of things. And of course, yeah, if that is happening, then of course they're going to call it out and talk about it, right? But yeah, that's essentially all there is for this video. I just kind of wanted to cover that because I thought it was pretty odd. And again, as much as I do like Asmongold and some of his content, right? I say some of his content. I like a lot more of his gaming content, to be honest. I'm gonna be real. I wish he did more of that. But you know, as much as I do like that kind of content, I do think that he's a little bit wrong in terms of this clip to go after Grimmi so absolutely when he doesn't really know, right? You know, he's not like God. He can't see that, you know, who's in the right and in the wrong here. But of course, you know, that is his opinion on it. So, but yeah, that's essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kazo, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.